I remember in 2007 when a group of us from Massachusetts went down to Washington, D.C. for the 25th anniversary of the Vietnam Memorial. And we were there on Veterans Day. And as we was getting near the end of the march, or the end of the parade, I noticed this veteran standing at the end. And he looked at me and he said, "Thank you. Welcome home, brother." And I could tell that he was sincere in what he was saying. I could see it in his eyes and I could hear it in his voice. That was the first time that I really heard someone say thank you. But most of all, welcome home.
We were warned. It wasn't a very popular war. When I landed the second time in Tacoma, Washington, they were advising us not to wear our Army uniform home. I said, no, I'm wearing my Army uniform. I didn't have any instances like that. Probably the worst is I went into a lounge at the airport waiting for my flight to Boston, and the person I sat beside actually got up and moved down 3 or 4 stools, which didn't bother me. I mean, to each their own. Everyone has their own opinion. That's what we fought for. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression. I know, it really didn't. But I do know veterans that had a heck of a lot more. They really got it hard when they come home from the civilian. I had some friends that wouldn't talk to me or didn't hang with me anymore. Not so much that they were upset about what I did, but they, and again, the person that came home wasn't the person that left. So they didn't know really how to take me, you know.
It was an entirely different story for me and most Vietnam veterans. I came through California, you know, my flight went into California, and they had all these hippies lined up outside, you know, yelling, calling us baby killers and trying to spit on us, and, you know, so me and a few other guys were going to go after them, but they actually had the National Guard lined up with M16s, and their job, if we broke through them lines, their job was actually to shoot us after coming back from war. Can you imagine that? You know, I mean, we fight for a year, and you know, out in the jungle, and then we're going to get killed on our own, you know, country. I really was disappointed there. You know, when I was on the plane coming home, I was sky high. You know, oh, I'm getting out of here. You know, and I went from sky high down to nothing. You know what I mean? I was really disappointed with the people in the United States.
Well, I say coming home is, like I just said, if the way the situation was, you can be in combat on a Monday, be at the corner with your friends on Friday. And it's just a huge adjustment for the mind to go from that to see some of the things I did and see some of the things I did, and then you just can't relate to it to people here. You know, it just takes a long time.
Okay, so I didn't leave Vietnam the way that most of the GIs left. I left in a medical plane back from Vietnam. I got wounded over there, and I also had a nervous breakdown. I spent 6 months at Valley Forge General Hospital, so I came home in a plane, and from the plane we landed in New Jersey, Dix, and from there I got shipped in an ambulance from there to Valley Forge General Hospital, and that's in Pennsylvania. And I actually stayed there 6 months before I went back to duty.
Well, they were treated badly. They really were. They really were. And as far as my experience, I can remember, I fell out of a helicopter. Not from way up in the sky, but about 12 feet. We were going up into the mountains. And a guy went to jump out, and his gun caught my rucksack, and I just fell out. So ever since then, I've had trouble with my back. So when I got home, I was home for a while, and my back started to bother me. So they set me up for an appointment at Court Street in Boston. And it was 2 months later. So naturally my back felt good. But I went out there, and most of the doctors at that time were World War II doctors. The war to end all wars. And I went in to see him, and he said, excuse me, he said, "What are you here for?" And I said, "My back." He said, "Well, bend down and touch your toes." And I did. He goes, "There's nothing wrong with your back." I said, 2 months ago, I said, I couldn't do this. And I said, it happens a couple times a year. He said, all you goddamn Vietnam vets, you're all the same. And I talk about when the PTSD came out, it came out that day. And they had probably 5 or 6 security guards got me and got me out of the building. But a lot of Vietnam vets had to go through that with the doctors that we had, because they said that wasn't a war. And the surprising thing is, we were shot at more in Vietnam than they were in World War II.
Well, coming home, you just want, first of all, you want a nice hot shower or bath, get the
Definitely.
smell off you. And it was fun coming home. We were told, because the consensus of the United States, the boisterous minority was running everything, take your uniform off as soon as you get home. Don't tell anybody where you've been. And I live in a country, so it didn't bother me too much. And I survived very well. The only time it bothered me was in 2012. From 1968 to 2012, I was going to buy a new vehicle. 2012. Now that's a long time from 1968. I was it was a Chrysler Corporation car dealer, and I was talking to the salesman, going to buy a new pickup truck, and there was names on his board in his office with ranks on them. A name and a rank. And I says, "Well, what's the ranks for?" He says, "Oh, we're giving $1,000 off for vets." I says, "Oh, thank you very much." He says, "You a vet?" And I says, "Yeah." He says, "What war?" He says, "Vietnam." He says, I still get kind of upset about that. He says, "You don't get it. They wouldn't give it to Vietnam, the Chrysler Corporation policy." So I get very upset in his office, but it still bothers me.
There was a lot of protesting, and we were treated terrible. And you go to airports, and I was with some other Marines. When we came back from Vietnam, first thing we did was, most of us got a chance to go home. And when you're in the airports, they were protesting everywhere you go. And the Marines used to say to me, "Now we know why we don't get weapons. They don't let us carry weapons around anymore," because it was really bad, really, really bad for all the veterans that came back. when I got home, I took my uniform off, and I didn't have my uniform on until I had to come back to the ship. And it stayed like that for a long time, the protesting. All the veterans did the best they could do over there. We had jobs to do. And we needed support, not what we got back when we come back. We didn't need that.
When we came home, we only talked about it to a few people. You really didn't talk about it. And what happened was, we were going down, I had my son and my wife, and we were going down to the parade in Millbury. And the guys that were in the parade, I had a shirt on that said Vietnam with the helicopters on it, because we did the recovery at Koh Tang Island. And one of the guys said, you weren't in Vietnam. Another guy said, you weren't in Vietnam. And I spiraled out. I got my certification for welding. I worked 2 jobs, and for the next 30, 35 years, time went by. I finally went to group probably maybe 10 years ago, and because I was talking to a friend of mine, and I seen him at the VA on Lincoln Street, and he said, Al, you really got to come here. And I said, okay, and that's when I started.
Everybody wants to be a Vietnam veteran now. There was 3 million that served. There's 10 million claims in the VA. So 7 million people are lying because there was only 3 million of us that went. But there's 10 million claims in. So everybody wants to be a Vietnam. It's fashionable now, I think, to be a Vietnam veteran, you know? Yeah, oh yeah, you see him with the hat. One day I saw this guy, he had it all over his car. I said, geez, were you there? No, but I thought I was going. I says, oh, you gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding me. He thought he was going.
So I'd like to sing this song. It's called Welcome Home. And I think it's appropriate for Veterans Day. And I really do want to say thank you. Welcome home. Welcome home, welcome home. Welcome home, welcome home. I want to thank you for the time you spent with me. I want to thank you for keeping my brothers free.